Step back in time and enter a world far harsher than the legends ever told. Imagine a land where winter ruled more than kings did, where survival was not a victory but a daily negotiation with nature. This is the real story of a Viking farmer, not the warrior sung in sagas, but the backbone of Norse society. A man who fought soil, storms, hunger, and fate. A man whose battlefields were fields, not foreign kingdoms. In this journey, we explore the truth that history rarely highlights. The truth behind the grandeur and the struggle of everyday Viking life. Like Roman art that carried hidden stories in every mosaic and carving, Viking farming life also held silent secrets carved into the land. Each season brought its own trials, and each moment demanded resilience. Our story begins in a windswept village on the coast of Norway. A village where the sea was both a blessing and a curse. Where every family prayed for a harvest strong enough to survive winter. Our main character, Eirik, was one of these silent warriors. A simple farmer with calloused hands and a heart full of quiet determination. From sunrise to sunset, his life was a cycle of toil and uncertainty. Every day began before dawn. The air was freezing, sharp enough to sting the lungs. Eirik stepped out of his longhouse with a torch in hand. The cold bit at his face, reminding him of how unforgiving the world was. His fields stretched before him, sleeping under the frost. They were not just fields, they were the thin line between life and starvation. He moved toward the barn, where the animals waited anxiously. The goats bleated softly, shivering in the cold. The cows needed feeding before they grew weak. Without strong livestock, there would be no milk, no plowing, no survival. Eirik sighed knowing today would be long, but there was no room for complaints in Viking life. Strength was expected, even when the heart felt tired. As he opened the feed storage, he noticed how low the supply had become. Winter had been longer than usual. Snowstorms had delayed every harvest. The family was already rationing meals. Eirik wondered whether spring would arrive in time, but worry was a luxury he could not afford. He scooped the last of the hay with both hands. The goats devoured it hungrily, unaware of how precious it was. Eirik watched them and whispered a silent prayer. The animals were more than property. They were survival companions. Every life he cared for affected the entire family. He stepped outside again and looked at the sky. It was gray and heavy, promising more snow. Snow meant more hardship. Snow meant less time to prepare the fields. Snow meant hunger. Eirik tightened his cloak and walked toward the freezing shoreline. He needed driftwood for fire. Without fire, the longhouse would turn into an ice tomb. The wind howled like wolves across the coast. Waves crashed violently against the rocks. This ocean had claimed many fishermen. Sometimes it gave food. Sometimes it took lives. Today, Eirik hoped it would give him wood. He searched the shore, boots sinking into wet sand. Pieces of timber lay scattered from last night's storm. He bent down and lifted one, brushing off the frozen seaweed. It was heavy, but he carried it anyway. Every piece mattered. As he turned to leave, he spotted something strange. Footprints near the edge of the water. They were small, light, and staggered like someone running or slipping. He frowned. It wasn't safe near the tide. He scanned the coastline but saw no one. The wind erased tracks quickly. But these were recent. Perhaps a child wandered too close, or a fisherman returned late. Eirik's heart tightened with concern. Life was already harsh. Danger made it crueler. He hurried back to his village, carrying the driftwood. Smoke rose from a few rooftops. The smell of burning peat filled the air. Families were awake, tending to their morning chores. A woman waved at him from across the path. Her eyes were tired but kind. He nodded in return, feeling the weight of shared struggle. Every person in the village carried quiet burdens. Eirik entered his longhouse, where his wife had started a small fire. She smiled at him, though exhaustion softened her expression. Two children sat near the hearth, warming their hands. Their faces lit up when he entered. Eirik felt a warm rush in his chest. They were the reason he fought the land each day. He set down the wood beside the fire. Today would be difficult, but he was not alone. Together, they would face whatever winter brought. And so began another day in the harsh life of a Viking farmer. Dawn had barely settled when Eirik stepped outside again. The cold was sharper now, cutting through his cloak like thin blades. The sky burned orange at the edges, but the warmth never reached the ground. Today was the day he had to prepare the frozen fields. Whether ready or not, spring was coming, and the soil demanded attention long before the first thaw. Eirik walked toward the farmland stretched behind the longhouse. Every step crunched under the thin crust of ice. The land was hard, brittle, and tired. Much like its people, Vikings were known as warriors, but most were farmers first, and farming in this land was an unforgiving teacher. Eirik reached the wooden plow resting near the edge of the field. It was old, worn smooth by years of labor. He touched it with a sigh, remembering how his father once used it. His father had fought these same winters, these same unforgiving fields. Eirik wondered if the land ever changed, or only the people did. He fastened the harness to the ox, who snorted in the cold. The animal was strong but growing weaker with each passing week. Winter took its toll on every living thing. Eirik guided the ox to the start of the field. The plow blade scraped against the ice. It resisted him, refusing to surrender to his strength. He pushed harder, boots digging into the frozen ground. The ox strained muscles, trembling under the weight. Inch by inch, the plow broke through the surface. Eirik felt sweat forming despite the cold. His breath came out in heavy clouds. The work was slow, painfully slow, but it had to be done before the snow melted. If he waited too long, the soil would flood. Flooding meant rot. Rot meant no crops, and no crops meant starvation. As he pushed the plow, he noticed movement in the distance. A figure walking across the ridge overlooking the fields. At first, he thought it was a hunter returning home, but the figure moved strangely as low, hesitant. Eirik squinted against the morning light. The person stumbled, then dropped to their knees. A jolt of fear shot through him. He left the ox and ran across the field. The icy wind made his eyes water. His boots slipped on the uneven frozen soil. But he didn't stop. The figure collapsed fully onto the snow. Eirik reached them and knelt beside them. It was a young boy from the village. His face was pale, lips trembling violently. Frost clung to his eyelashes like tiny crystals. Eirik shook him gently. "What happened?" he asked, voice tight with worry. The boy struggled to speak. My mother," he whispered. "She hasn't returned from the forest." Eirik felt his stomach twist. The forest was dangerous in winter. Wolves roamed freely, hungry and desperate. Snow hid pits and frozen streams. People could disappear in minutes. Eirik lifted the boy into his arms. He was frighteningly light. The boy's head rested weakly against his shoulder. Eirik began running back toward the village. Every step jolted the boy's shivering body. When he reached the longhouse, his wife rushed forward. She gasped when she saw the boy's condition. "Get blankets!" Eirik ordered. She moved quickly, wrapping the child in furs. Eirik knelt beside him again. "When did she go into the forest?" The boy's voice cracked. "Yesterday, before sunset." Eirik exchanged a grim look with his wife. Anyone lost overnight had slim chances. But giving up was not an option. Villages survived by saving each other. Eirik stood and grabbed his axe. The blade glinted in the weak morning light. He strapped on his cloak, now heavy with frost. His wife touched his arm. Her eyes showed fear, but also trust. "Be careful," she whispered. "I will," he promised. Eirik stepped outside again and looked toward the dark line of the forest. The trees seemed to swallow the horizon. Somewhere in that frozen maze, a woman was fighting for her life, and Eirik knew he had to find her before the forest claimed another soul. With a deep breath, he walked toward the trees, the harsh reality of survival tightening around him like winter air. The forest loomed before Eirik like a wall of shadows. The trees were tall, ancient, and twisted by years of cold winds. Their branches reached outward like skeletal fingers. Eirik paused for a moment, listening to the eerie silence. Even birds avoided this place in winter. He tightened his grip on the axe. The weight of it felt heavier than usual, as if sensing danger. He stepped into the forest, his boots crushing the thick layer of snow. The air grew colder, darker, and unnervingly still. Eirik followed the faint trail of footprints leading deeper inside. The boy's mother must have walked this path yesterday, searching for firewood, a simple task that had turned into a life-threatening journey. Eirik moved carefully, brushing aside branches heavy with frost. Each step echoed like a whisper in the quiet forest. Somewhere far off, a wolf whinnied. The sound vibrated through the trees, haunting and sharp. Eirik's heart pounded, but he kept moving. Fear had no place here, not when lives depended on him. The footprints grew less clear as snow drifted over them. Eirik knelt, Stone brushing the snow away with his glove. The prints were small, fragile, and barely visible now, but he could still track them if he moved quickly. Eirik stood and pushed forward, deeper into the frozen maze. The trees thickened around him, blocking what little sunlight remained. Breathable air felt scarce under the heavy canopy. Every sound seemed magnified: the crack of a branch, the groan of ice. Eirik's instincts sharpened. This forest had claimed many lives through silence alone. He stopped suddenly. Something glimmered beneath the snow. He crouched and brushed it away. It was a broken piece of fabric, part of a wool shawl. Eirik recognized the pattern. It belonged to the missing woman. The forest had her, and she had been here not long ago. Eirik stood quickly, scanning the area. He saw drag marks leading downhill toward a cluster of boulders. His stomach tightened. Drag marks meant she had fallen, or something had taken her. Eirik rushed forward, following the disturbed snow. The marks zigzagged between trees, showing signs of struggle. Branches snapped underfoot as he picked up speed. A cold sweat formed on his neck. Wolves often followed the weak, the injured, the helpless, and they were bold and winter-bold enough to hunt humans. Eirik quickened his steps, fear fueling his determination. He rounded a hill and froze. A large patch of snow lay disturbed near the rocks. Blood stained the ground a harsh red against the white. Eirik's heart dropped, but he forced himself to look closer. The blood trail continued, thin but steady. It was not enough blood to signal deathly injury. Hope sparked in his chest. He followed the trail toward a fallen tree. Beneath it, he spotted movement. A trembling shape curled against the trunk. Eirik rushed forward. It was the missing woman. Her face was pale, lips blue, and her eyes barely open. She clutched her leg, wrapped in torn fabric, soaked with blood. "Eirik?" she whispered weakly when she saw him. He knelt beside her immediately. "You're safe now," he said, though danger still surrounded them. She tried to sit up, but pain shot through her body. Eirik gently stopped her. "Don't move. Tell me what happened." Her voice shook. "I slipped. On the ice. Hurt my leg. Then, wolves." The word hung in the air like a warning. Eirik's muscles tensed. "How many?" "3. Maybe 4. She swallowed hard. "I fought them off with a stick, but I couldn't walk." Eirik looked around, scanning the trees. The forest seemed quiet now. Just still. The wolves were close, watching, waiting. He pulled the woman's arm over his shoulder. "We have to move." Slowly. She nodded. Pain etched across her face. Eirik lifted her, muscles straining under her weight and the deep snow. They made their way toward the trail, step by heavy step. Behind them, a low growl broke the silence. Eirik turned his head sharply. A wolf stood between the trees, its eyes glowing in the dim light. 2 more shadows moved behind it. The forest had no mercy and now. Neither could Eirik. Eirik tightened his grip on the axe as the wolves approached. Their breath steamed in the frozen air, white clouds rising from sharp teeth. The largest wolf stepped forward, muscles rippling beneath its thick fur. Its eyes were yellow, unblinking, and fixed on Eirik. The woman clung to him weakly, trembling from cold and fear. Eirik shifted his stance, placing himself between her and the wolves. The forest was silent except for low growls echoing through the trees. Eirik knew wolves rarely attacked healthy adults, but today, hunger made them bold, and the scent of blood made them fearless. The lead wolf crouched lower, preparing to lunge. Eirik raised his axe, heart pounding like thunder in his chest. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in the icy reality. "Stay behind me," he whispered to the woman. She nodded, though her strength was nearly gone. The wolf sprang forward. Eirik swung the axe with all his weight. The blade sliced through the air, missing the wolf by inches. Snow exploded beneath them as the wolf dodged and circled. Two more wolves flanked Eirik from the sides. He turned sharply, lifting the axe again. His arms burned from strain, but his focus remained sharp. The wolves moved in a coordinated dance, trained by survival. Their paws made no sound on the snow. Eirik's breath grew heavy in the cold air. He could not fight them all at once, not while protecting an injured woman. The lead wolf lunged again. This time, Eirik met it with a fierce downward strike. The axe hit the wolf's shoulder, sending it yelping backward. Blood splattered across the snow, steaming as it hit the freezing air. The other wolves paused, reassessing their prey. Eirik stood tall, chest heaving, eyes ablaze with determination. The wolves paced in a slow circle, unwilling to give up. Their hunger was stronger than their fear. Eirik scanned the trees for anything that could help him. A fallen branch lay half buried in the snow. He kicked it toward the woman. "Use this if they get too close." She picked it up with trembling hands. Her breaths came in quick, on ebon bursts. The wolves regrouped, growling low and threatening. Eirik repositioned himself, feet planted firmly. His entire body trembled from cold and adrenaline. He knew he was running out of strength, but giving up meant death for both of them. Suddenly, another sound broke through the forest. A distant horn. Its deep echo rolled through the trees like a wave. Eirik's eyes widened with hope. Someone from the village had followed him. The wolves froze, ears twitching at the unfamiliar sound. A second horn blast followed, louder this time. The wolves exchanged uneasy glances. They knew the meaning of that signal. More humans were coming, and humans meant danger. The lead wolf snarled once more. Then, with a sharp bark, it turned and fled into the trees. The others followed, vanishing like shadows, melting into the forest. Eirik exhaled shakily, knees nearly buckling from exhaustion. The woman sagged against him, relief flooding her pale face. "You saved me," she whispered weakly. "Not yet," Eirik replied softly. "We still have to get home." He lifted her again, adjusting her weight carefully. Her leg throbbed with every movement, but she held on. Footsteps crunched through the snow behind them. Eirik turned to see two villagers emerging from the trees. Both carried torches and spears. Their faces were tight with worry. "Eirik, one, Khaled. We followed your tracks." "Are you hurt?" "Not me," Eirik answered, "but she needs help quickly." The villagers rushed forward, lifting the woman gently. One man wrapped his cloak around her shivering body. Eirik felt a wave of relief wash over him. The burden was no longer his alone to carry. Together, they began the long walk back to the village. The sky darkened as snow began to fall again. Thick flakes swirled around them, whispering against their cloaks. The woman's breathing steadied, though pain still etched her face. Eirik walked beside her, watching every step carefully. The forest behind them seemed darker now, hiding unseen dangers. But ahead, faint lights glowed from the village hearths. Those lights promised safety, promised warmth, promised survival. Eirik took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the day settle on his shoulders. And as the village came into view, he knew this was only the beginning of the trials a Viking farmer must endure. Snow continued to fall as Eirik entered the village with the others. The wind howled through the wooden rooftops, rattling loose boards. Children peeked from doorways, eyes wide with fear and curiosity. News traveled fast. Someone had been missing, and someone had been found. The villagers carried the injured woman toward the healer's hut. Eirik followed closely, his muscles aching from the long ordeal. Every step reminded him of the weight he had carried, both physical and emotional. The healer, an older woman named Runa, opened her door quickly. Her sharp eyes scanned the group, instantly assessing the severity. "Bring her inside," Runa commanded firmly. The warm air from the hut escaped in a gentle wave. Eirik felt the heat touch his face like a blessing. The woman was placed onto a bed made of furs and straw. Runa knelt beside her, checking her pulse and breathing. Eirik stood back, letting the healer work. The villagers whispered behind him. Some praised his courage. Others voiced fear about wolves coming so close to the village. Eirik ignored the murmurs, focusing on the woman's labored breaths. Runa tore the fabric around the wounded leg. The flesh was swollen, bruised, and pierced by deep cuts. Eirik swallowed hard at the sight. Survival in the forest was never guaranteed. Runa cleaned the wound with heated water. Steam rose in soft curls, carrying the scent of herbs. The woman winced, but remained conscious. "She lost blood," Runa said without looking up. "But she will live." Relief washed over Eirik, like a warm tide. His shoulders finally loosened. "Thank the gods," he murmured quietly. Runa stitched the wounds with steady hands. The villagers watched in silence, respecting the healer's skill. When she finished, she covered the woman with thick furs. "She needs rest," Runa said, "and she needs people she can trust." The boy who had collapsed earlier rushed into the hut, his eyes filled with tears at the sight of his injured mother. Hirantor gripping her hand tightly. Eirik stepped back, giving them space. The boy whispered something to his mother. Her lips curved into a faint, tired smile. Eirik felt warmth spread in his chest. This moment, this reunion was why he fought. Not for glory, not for praise, but for the people he shared life with. Outside, the snowstorm intensified. The wind whipped through the village, carrying icy shards. Eirik stepped out of the hut, breathing in the cold air. His breath fogged in front of him like smoke. The village was quiet now, wrapped in winter's grip. Eirik headed back toward his longhouse. His boots left deep impressions in the snow. The familiar scent of smoke reached him before he reached home. His wife stood at the doorway, watching him with soft eyes. "You're safe," she whispered. Eirik nodded, feeling exhaustion settle into his bones. She guided him inside with gentle hands. The warmth of the fire wrapped around him instantly. His children looked up from the hearth. Their faces lit up when they saw him. "Father," they shouted, running toward him. Eirik dropped to one knee, pulling them close. The small arms wrapped tightly around his neck. He felt tears sting his eyes. Moments like this made every struggle worth it. His wife placed a bowl of warm broth beside him. Steam curled upward, carrying the calming scent of herbs and meat. Eirik took a long sip, letting the warmth fill his stomach. The fire crackled softly behind him. His wife sat down next to him, her hand brushing his shoulder. "You did well today?" she said quietly. Eirik shook his head. "I did what anyone would do." "Not everyone," she replied softly. Eirik looked toward the window. Snowflakes drifted past like tiny stars. The forest loomed beyond, dark and silent. He thought of the wolves and their relentless hunger. Winter pushed every living thing to its limits. Farmers, hunters, beasts, none were spared. His wife followed his gaze. "It's going to be a hard season," she said. Eirik nodded slowly, harder than most, but he knew they would endure. They always did, through storms, hunger, danger, and loss. Viking farmers survived because they had no other choice. Eirik took his wife's hand, grateful for her steady presence, and as the storm roared outside, he silently promised to face whatever came next. The next morning arrived, with a dull gray light seeping through the clouds. The village was blanketed in fresh snow, untouched and pristine. Eirik stepped outside, boots crunching against the crisp surface. His body still ached from the previous day's ordeal. But the work could not wait. The soil did not care about fatigue or pain. He made his way toward the fields, breathing in the sharp, clean air. Every inhale felt like fire in his lungs. The frost clung to his beard and eyelashes. He stopped to inspect the plow from yesterday. Ice had frozen parts of it solid. Eirik tapped with his axe until the metal groaned free. Even simple tools demanded effort in winter. The ox was restless. Sensing the bitter cold, Eirik harnessed it again, murmuring softly to calm the animal. Every day required patience as much as strength. Farmers were a part laborer, part animal whisperer. He guided the ox toward the field's edge. Snowflakes clung to his hair, melting slowly into his skin. The ground beneath was hard and unyielding. Eirik gritted his teeth and pushed the plow forward. Each inch carved through the frozen soil was a small victory. Winter had made the land stubborn and unforgiving. Sweat mixed with frost on his face. He paused, wiping it with the back of his hand. In the distance, smoke rose from neighboring longhouses. The villagers were tending their own struggles. Some were repairing roofs. Others were preparing livestock for the cold months ahead. Eirik knew every family carried invisible burdens. Hunger, injury, and isolation were constant threats. A sharp cry broke through the quiet morning. Eirik looked up to see the village children playing cautiously in the snow. Their laughter sounded fragile against the wind, but it reminded him of why he fought. Life persisted even in hardship. He bent back to the plow, muscles screaming in protest. The frozen soil slowed his progress to a crawl. Each pass took double the effort of summer. He could feel the cold seeping into his bones, but stopping was not an option. Eirik worked steadily until the plow line was finally complete. His hands were raw, and his back ached. He let out a long sigh of exhaustion. The ox shook itself, sending snowflakes flying. Eirik patted its flank in gratitude. They were a team, man and animal, facing winter together. From the corner of his eye, he saw a faint movement. A raven perched on a nearby tree, watching silently. Eirik remembered old Tally's ravans were messengers of fate. He shook his head, focusing back on the plow. But the bird's presence was a reminder of the world beyond toil. Winter was not the only challenge. Illness could strike without warning. A simple cut could become life-threatening. Hunger could twist neighbors into desperation. And yet, life continued. The forest beyond the fields held dangers still unseen. Wolves, frost, and hidden crevices waited silently. Eirik guided the ox toward the barn. The plow finally set aside. He rubbed his hands together to regain warmth. Inside the barn, the animals huddled together. Their soft murmurs were calming. He fed them carefully, rationing the precious hay. Every bite mattered, every ounce preserved for survival. A knock came at the barn door. Eirik opened it to see a fellow villager, carrying a bundle of firewood. "You'll need this," the man said, tossing the logs inside. Eirik nodded in gratitude. Community kept the village alive, just as much as the land. Alone, no one could endure the harshness of winter. Together, they shared burdens and strength. Eirik stacked the firewood carefully, planning for the night ahead. The day was long, and darkness would come swiftly. Even a few extra logs could mean warmth and safety. He glanced toward the healer's hut, hoping the injured woman rested. Knowing she survived was a small but precious relief. Life on the farm demanded constant vigilance. One mistake could ruin weeks of work, and in winter mistakes were deadly. Eirik stepped outside to inspect the perimeter. Snow covered footprints quickly, making the village appear deserted. He scanned the tree line, ever watchful for wolves or other dangers. The cold nipped at his fingers despite gloves. His eyes burned from the reflection of snow. He whispered a prayer to the gods, silently asking for protection. Returning to the longhouse, he found his children playing quietly by the hearth. Their smiles were faint, but it was enough to remind him of hope. The fire crackled, sending waves of heat across the room. Eirik sank onto a bench, exhausted, yet ready to face another day. The following morning arrived quieter than usual. Snow had softened the world, muffling every sound. Eirik stepped outside, the frost crunching beneath his boots. The village was slowly waking, smoke curling from chimneys. The air smelled of wood smoke and frozen earth. Birds cautiously returned to the sparse trees. Eirik glanced toward the forest, still wary of unseen threats. Today, he needed to prepare storage for the next harvest. Every container, barrel, and sack would determine their survival. Food had to be rationed carefully in these harsh months. He moved toward the longhouse, where grains were stored. Each bag weighed heavily, soaked with moisture and frost. His hands were raw from lifting and tying the sacks. Sweat mixed with cold, freezing instantly on his skin. Eirik's wife arrived with warm water, placing it beside him. "Drink," she said softly. He took a deep swallow, letting warmth spread through him. Their children watched from the doorway, curious and cautious. Eirik smiled briefly, though exhaustion pulled at his features. "Helped me stack these," sighed Tutem. They eagerly assisted, lifting smaller sacks with determination. Every little bit mattered in the battle against winter. Once the storage was secure, Eirik inspected the granary. Rats and pests were always a threat during the cold months. He set small traps and tightened the wooden beams. The grain had to last until the next planting season. Even minor spoilage could mean hunger for the family. A sudden sound made him freeze. A branch snapping in the distance caught his attention. He turned slowly, scanning the snow-covered ground. A fox darted between the trees, disappearing quickly. Eirik exhaled slowly, tension leaving his body. Every moment required constant vigilance. Complacency was deadly in this land. The villagers understood this unspoken rule. Each person was a link in the chain of survival. Eirik's neighbor approached with a cart of firewood. "Winter comes harder every year," he said with a nod. Eirik agreed silently, continuing his work. The cart's weight made the path difficult, but it was essential. Firewood meant heat, cooking, and life itself. The neighbors stacked the wood carefully beside Eirik's pile. Gratitude passed silently between them. Words were few. Action spoke louder in the frost. After organizing the storage, Eirik turned to inspect the livestock. The goats and cows huddled in the barn, shivering. He checked each animal, ensuring none were weak or sick. One young goat struggled to stand, shivering violently. Eirik knelt beside it, murmuring softly. Warmed with his hands, he guided it toward food. The goat nuzzled him, and he smiled faintly. Caring for animals was as crucial as tending the fields. Without them, survival was impossible. The ox waited patiently, ready for another day of plowing. Eirik patted its head, whispering thanks for its strength. He stepped outside, surveying the fields again. Frost covered every inch of earth, glinting in the pale sunlight. Spring was still weeks away, yet preparations could not pause. Eirik began checking fences, ensuring no animal wandered off. The snow made this task difficult, every post and line hidden. Each fence had to withstand the weight of winter storms. A gust of wind knocked loose some snow, revealing footprints. They were unfamiliars, more deliberate and cautious. Eirik's heart quickened. Humans or predators, he could not yet tell. He followed the trail slowly, scanning every shadow. The tracks led toward the forest edge. He paused, listening for any sound. The forest was silent, but the sense of danger remained. Eirik turned back toward the village, deciding caution was wiser. The villagers relied on him, and reckless action could risk lives. He returned to the longhouse, feeling the weight of responsibility. His wife prepared a simple breakfast, hot porridge and herbs. The children sat quietly, still recovering from recent fears. Eirik ate slowly, savoring warmth and sustenance. Every meal was precious in the frozen months. Outside, snow continued to fall gently, covering the village in white. Eirik watched the flakes, reflecting on how fragile life was. Every day was a test of endurance, courage, and wisdom. His father's lessons echoed in his mind. Respect the land, respect the animals, respect each other, he had said. Eirik nodded silently, internalizing every word. This knowledge had saved him countless times, and it would save him again. After breakfast, he prepared tools for the day's labor. Axes, plows, and rope saw had to be ready for work. Even small mistakes could lead to injury or loss. He stepped outside with renewed determination. The wind bit his cheeks, but his spirit remained unbroken. Another day in the harsh reality of Viking farming had begun. The morning light crept slowly over the snow-covered fields. Eirik stepped outside, boots sinking slightly into the soft layer. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of frozen earth and smoke. Today, he would tend the livestock, checking for any sign of illness. Each animal represented sustenance and survival. The cows lowed softly as he approached, their breath steaming in the cold air. He rubbed their flanks, inspecting for cuts or frostbite. One calf shivered violently, too weak to stand. Eirik knelt beside it, offering warmth from his hands. It slowly gained strength, wobbling to its feet. Every success, no matter how small, brought hope. The goats bleated for attention, hungry and restless. Eirik guided them toward feed, scattering hay evenly. Outside, the snow reflected the pale sunlight, dazzling his eyes. The wind picked up, carrying icy shards across the land. He adjusted his cloak, protecting his face from frostbite. Farming in winter demanded vigilance and resilience. A sudden noise drew his attention. Footsteps crunching over snow, human, not animal. Eirik turned, scanning the edge of the village. A stranger approached, wrapped in furs, ice couches. Eirik tightened his grip on his axe. Instinctively. "Who goes there?" he called, voice steady but wary. The figure stopped, raising empty hands in greeting. "A travala," the man replied, voice trembling. "I seek shelter from the storm." Eirik studied him carefully, noting ragged clothing and frostbitten fingers. Winter could make anyone desperate. He nodded slowly, motioning toward the longhouse. "Follow me, but stay close." The man hurried, gratitude evident in his steps. Inside, the fire crackled warmly, melting the frost from the stranger's cloak. Eirik's wife brought blankets and hot water. The traveler drank deeply, relief washing over his face. "Thank you," he said softly. "You would have left me to the cold." Eirik asked quietly. The man shook his head. "No one survives winter alone." Eirik's eyes hardened, reflecting both fatigue and resolve. The village had endured countless winters by helping each other. This stranger's life depended on the same principle. Eirik glanced outside as snow began to fall harder. Visibility decreased rapidly, the world turning white. Children watched curiously from the corner of the room. Their eyes shone with wonder and caution. Eirik returned to the barn, checking on the ox and other animals. The snow had piled up against the stable doors. He shoveled a path, careful not to slip. The animals moved uneasily, sensing the harsh weather. Eirik whispered reassurances, guiding them back into warmth. Every moment demanded careful attention. One misstep could mean disaster. The traveler followed him silently, watching his every move. It was clear he had never faced such conditions before. Eirik allowed a small, tired smile. Everyone had to learn, eventually. The farm was a teacher, ruthless but fair. The sun climbed higher, struggling through thick clouds. Eirik returned to the longhouse for a brief rest. His wife handed him a bowl of porridge. Steam rose from the mixture, carrying the comforting scent of herbs. Eirik took a long, grateful sip. Outside, snow continued to blanket the village. Footprints and paths quickly disappeared beneath the fresh layer. Nature erased signs of life with ruthless efficiency. Eirik stood and looked toward the horizon. Winter would not ease its grip easily, but he would endure, as always. And so would the village. Work resumed, chopping wood for the night ahead. Every log counted against the cold, the Chavala observed, silently absorbing the rhythm of labor. Villagers occasionally passed, offering brief nods of greeting. Community was both shield and sword in these times. Even small acts could save lives. Eirik's thoughts turned to the injured woman, still recovering. Survival depended on vigilance, care, and persistence. He adjusted the harness on the ox, preparing for plowing the next field. The snow made it slow and painful, but progress mattered. Hours passed, muscles straining with each movement. Finally, Eirik allowed a moment to breathe, leaning on his axe. The snow continued to fall relentlessly. It was beautiful, yet merciless. Life on the farm required acceptance of both. He scanned the horizon, noting distant smoke from other longhouses. Each represented lives struggling, enduring, surviving. Eirik understood their shared burden. Every person, animal, and tree relied on one another. As night approached, he returned to the warmth of the longhouse. Another day survived, another battle won against winter's relentless cruelty. The morning arrived quiet, with a thin layer of frost covering the village. Eirik stepped outside, boots sinking into the icy ground. The air was sharp, each breath cutting his lungs. Today, he planned to check the fences around the livestock. Winter storms had weakened some posts, and he could not risk animals wandering. The ox waited patiently, sensing the routine. Eirik harnessed it and set off toward the first pasture. Snow crunched beneath their feet, each step loud in the still morning. The calves huddled together, shivering under the thin straw. Eirik knelt, brushing snow from their coats. He whispered soothing words, calming their panic. Even animals understood fear in winter. The goats bleated impatiently, demanding attention. Eirik tossed hay, making sure all had enough. The forest edge looked darker today, shadows thick and foreboding. Wolves could smell weakness from miles away. Eirik's hand instinctively brushed the axe handle. He walked the fence line, checking each post and knot. Some had cracked under ice, threatening collapse. He reinforced them, using rope and metal where needed. Every repair meant life for the animals in the months ahead. Sweat froze on his skin, turning to sharp ice in the cold wind. He paused, listening to the forest, every rustle making his heart race. A distant howl echoed, reminding him of yesterday's danger. Eirik adjusted the cloak around his shoulders and continued. The snow made progress slow, each step requiring extra effort. His boots sank into drifts, making balance difficult. Despite exhaustion, April set on. The villagers relied on the fences, the animals, the crops. A small failure could cascade into disaster. At the far edge of the pasture, he spotted fresh tracks. Human-sized, deliberate, careful. Eirik paused, studying the footprints. They led toward the forest, disappearing beneath fresh snow. Curiosity battled caution within him. The village depended on him staying vigilant, but he could not ignore possible strangers nearby. He marked the spot and continued, making mental notes. Returning to the barn, he checked each animal again. The cows and goats huddled for warmth, trusting his presence. Eirik smiled faintly, though his muscles screamed in protest. Winter tested every inch of endurance, body and mind alike. Inside the longhouse, his wife prepared breakfast. The smell of porridge and roasted roots filled the small space. Their children moved slowly, sleepy and cautious. Eirik joined them, taking a spoonful of warm food. Each bite was precious, sustaining energy for the labor ahead. Outside, the snowstorm thickened, reducing visibility to mere feet. He glanced at the traveler from yesterday, now seated quietly by the fire. The stranger had recovered slightly, eyes wide with awe at the harsh life around him. "You endure much," the man said softly. "It is survival," Eirik replied, "not choice." The wind rattled the roof, making the longhouse feel smaller. Eirik's mind returned to the fields and livestock. Each day brought work, danger, and lessons. One misstep could mean frostbite, injury, or worse. Children learned quickly by observation, mirroring elders. Eirik watched them, noting small gestures of responsibility. Even play carried lessons in endurance and care. He stepped outside to inspect firewood stacks, ensuring they were secure. Snow had begun burying the piles again. He brushed off the top layers, keeping logs accessible for the night. The traveler followed silently, carrying small pieces to help. Eirik allowed the gesture, knowing every contribution mattered. Hours passed, filled with labor that never seemed to end. The sun barely broke through the thick gray sky. By midday, Eirik's hands were raw, and his back ached fiercely. He paused, leaning on the axe, and exhaled deeply. Each breath formed clouds in the cold air. In the distance, the forest remained dark and silent. Wolves, hidden crevices, and frost claimed vigilance constantly. Eirik glanced toward the village, small smoke curling from chimneys. Safety existed only in community, work, and watchfulness. Returning to the longhouse, he checked the animals one final time. The ox looked at him expectantly. Ready for the next day? He patted its head, murmuring quietly. Life depended on routine, care, and perseverance. Night approached, bringing both cold and uncertainty. Eirik stacked more wood near the hearth, preparing for evening warmth. The traveler now understood the rhythm, absorbing lessons silently. Outside, snow continued falling, covering every path and footprint. Nature's hand was relentless, erasing signs of life quickly. Darkness fell early, shadows stretching across the village. Inside, warmth and light offered temporary safety. Eirik's family huddled together, grateful for another day survived. He glanced at the hearth, watching flames dance in the dim room. The weight of responsibility rested heavily, yet he carried it willingly. This was the harsh reality of Viking life: constant labor, vigilance, and survival. And tomorrow, it would begin again. Unyielding as always, dawn broke slowly, a muted light over the snow-covered village. Eirik stepped outside, boots sinking slightly into frost-laden ground. The wind carried an icy sting, nipping at exposed skin. Today he planned to inspect the northern fields. Winter had hardened the soil, and plowing was arduous work. The ox waited patiently, sensing the routine of labor. Eirik harnessed it, adjusting the yoke carefully. Snowflakes drifted down, settling gently on his cloak. Every step toward the field required effort, strength, and focus. The frozen earth resisted the plow, groaning under pressure. Eirik pressed forward, muscles burning with each inch. Sweat formed on his brow, freezing instantly in the cold. He paused briefly to catch his breath. Winter tested endurance and patience equally. The ox grunted, moving steadily despite the snow's resistance. Eirik adjusted the plow, guiding it carefully through the field. Each furrow carved through ice felt like a small victory. Beyond the field, the forest lay dark and silent. Wolves, hidden in shadows, could strike at any moment. Eirik scanned the tree line frequently, aware of unseen dangers. The forest's silence was both peaceful and threatening. His thoughts wandered to the villagers, each facing their own struggles. Survival required community, not just strength. Every neighbor's success contributed to the collective safety. Eirik continued plowing, the ox working tirelessly beside him. The sky darkened slightly, clouds thickening overhead. Snow began to fall again, light at first, then heavier. He paused to adjust the plow's blades, ensuring efficiency. The sound of crunching snow echoed through the empty fields. Eirik's fingers were numb, despite gloves, but he pressed on. Each movement required focus, or risk injury. The traveler from the village watched quietly, learning the ways of the land. Observation was survival, and he understood that now. Eirik glanced at him, acknowledging his presence with a nod. The ox snorted, impatient for rest and food. Eirik continued, carving rows deep into the frozen earth. Hours passed, the effort relentless, exhausting every muscle. Sweat and snow mixed on his face, freezing instantly. Yet he endured, knowing this labor secured life. A distant howl pierced the air, startling both man and animal. Wolves were never far in the winter wilderness. Eirik's heart quickened, scanning the forest edge carefully. No movement appeared, but caution remained. Winter demanded respect, vigilance, and constant awareness. The ox's breath steamed in the cold, a comforting rhythm of life. Eirik paused briefly to rest, leaning on the plow. The wind carried flakes of snow, biting through his cloak. The traveler approached, offering a small piece of bread. Eirik accepted, grateful for the gesture. Food was precious. Even a small portion meant sustenance. They worked together, the rhythm of labor unbroken. The snow continued to fall, covering the freshly plowed rows. Every furrow had to be precise. Waste could cost survival. Eirik's muscles burned, but determination kept him moving. Hours blended together, the monotony of labor, punctuated by nature's hazards. A crackling sound from the forest edge made him tense. Branches snapped, and snow fell in sudden clumps. He gripped the axe handle instinctively. The traveler froze, realizing the danger. A lone deer emerged, startled and bounding away. Eirik exhaled slowly, tension leaving his chest. Life and death in winter were often separated by mere moments. The sun dipped lower, casting pale light across the field. Eirik guided the ox back toward the village, muscles aching from the long labor. Footprints left behind were quickly erased by falling snow. Inside the longhouse, warmth and light provided respite. His wife prepared a simple meal of roots and broth. The children gathered around, eyes wide with curiosity and hunger. Eirik ate slowly, savoring the warmth and nourishment. Outside, the snowstorm intensified. Relentless, as always, he reflected on the day's labor, understanding its necessity. Winter spared no one, and every day required sacrifice. The traveler observed quietly, absorbing lessons silently. Knowledge of the land was the difference between life and death. The fire crackled, offering comfort against the icy world outside. Eirik's family huddled together, drawing warmth from each other. This was survival, built on resilience, labor, and community. Even the smallest effort could save lives in such harsh conditions. Night fell early, darkness enveloping the village. The cold outside intensified, snow piling against doors and roofs. Eirik stacked firewood near the hearth, ensuring warmth for the night. The traveler now understood the rhythm of a Viking farmer's life. Observation and participation were essential lessons. Outside, the wind howled, reminding all of nature's relentless power. Eirik took a final glance at the field, rows buried under fresh snow. Tomorrow would demand labor again, unyielding as always. Every day was a test, and every test had consequences. Yet he remained steadfast, hardened by experience and responsibility. Life on the farm was relentless, harsh, and unforgiving. And tomorrow, they would face it all over again. The morning was heavy with clouds, promising another harsh day. Eirik stepped outside, snow crunching beneath his boots. Frost coated the wooden rooftops of the village. The wind carried an icy bite, cutting through layers of clothing. Today, he intended to check the northern livestock pens. The ox waited patiently, sensing the familiar routine. Eirik harnessed it carefully, adjusting the yoke. Snowflakes drifted down, settling on his cloak and hair. Every step required effort, strength, and sharp focus. The frozen ground resisted the plow. Groaning under pressure, he pressed forward, muscles straining with each inch. Sweat formed on his brow, quickly freezing in the cold. Winter tested both endurance and patience. Beyond the field, the dark forest stretched silently. Wolves and hidden dangers lurked, always present. Eirik's hand brushed the axe handle instinctively. The forest's silence was both beautiful and threatening. His thoughts returned to the villagers, enduring their own trials. Survival depended on community, not only strength. Success contributed to the village's overall survival. Eirik continued plowing, the ox working steadily beside him. Clouds thickened overhead, dimming the pale winter sun. Snow began to fall, first lightly, then in heavier sheets. He paused to adjust the plow, ensuring the blades cut smoothly. Crunching snow echoed through the empty fields. Eirik's fingers were numb despite gloves, but he pressed on. Each movement required focus to avoid injury. The traveler followed silently, learning the rhythms of farm life. Observation was a lesson in survival, and he now understood it. Eirik acknowledged him with a brief nod. The ox snorted, restless yet obedient. Eirik guided it carefully, cutting furrows through the frozen earth. Hours passed, labor relentless, exhausting every muscle. Sweat and snow mixed on his face, freezing immediately. Yet he endured, knowing this work ensured survival. A distant howl pierced the morning, startling both man and animal. Wolves patrolled the edges of the forest silently. Eirik's heart quickened, scanning the tree line. No movement appeared, but vigilance remained critical. Winter demanded respect, attention, and constant awareness. The ox's steady breath offered a comforting rhythm. Eirik said, leaning on the plow, letting his shoulders relax briefly. Snowflakes fell heavier, coating every surface in white. The traveler handed him a small piece of bread, which Eirik accepted gratefully. Food was scarce. Even a small ration was valuable. They worked together, side by side, labor uninterrupted. Snow covered freshly plowed rows, erasing every sign of progress. Every furrow mattered. Mistakes could cost them survival. Eirik's muscles burned, yet determination pushed him forward. Hours melted into each other. Rhythm of work, punctuated by nature's threats. A crackling sound from the forest edge made him tense. Branches snapped, snow falling in sudden clumps. He gripped his axe tightly, ready for anything. The traveler froze, sensing the danger nearby. A lone deer bolted from the trees, disappearing quickly. Eirik exhaled, tension leaving his chest slowly. Life in winter was often balanced between small miracles and dangers. The sun lowered toward the horizon, pale light covering the fields. Eirik guided the ox back toward the village, every step painful but necessary. Footprints disappeared under fresh snow almost immediately. Inside the longhouse, warmth and light provided temporary safety. His wife served a simple meal, the aroma comforting. The children gathered quietly, grateful for sustenance. Eirik ate slowly, savoring each warm bite. Outside, the snowstorm intensified, relentless and unforgiving. He reflected on the day's work, knowing it was essential. Winter spared no one, demanding effort, sacrifice, and vigilance. The traveler observed silently, absorbing lessons with every movement. Understanding the land was the difference between life and death. The fire crackled, offering warmth and comfort. Eirik's family huddled together, drawing strength from each other. Survival depended on labor, resilience, and community. Small efforts often meant the difference between life and starvation. Night fell early, shadows spreading across the village. Cold seeped into every corner, snow piling against doors. Eirik stacked firewood near the hearth, preparing for the long night. The traveler learned the rhythm of a Viking farmer's life, silently understanding. The wind's howl reminded all of nature's unrelenting power. Eirik glanced at the fields, rows buried beneath new snow. Tomorrow would bring the same labor, as merciless as today. Each day was a test of endurance, strength, and resolve, yet he remained steadfast, hardened by years of responsibility. Winter's harsh reality left no room for error. Every choice and action had consequences. Eirik knew the limits of his body, pushing them every day. Survival demanded more than strength, it demanded wisdom. The traveler's eyes reflected understanding and respect. Each task, no matter how small, held importance in this unforgiving land. Eirik settled by the hearth, muscles aching but spirit unbroken. Tomorrow, the struggle would resume, unyielding as always. Morn arrived pale, light struggling through thick gray clouds. Eirik stepped outside, snow crunching beneath his boots. The air was sharp, each breath a sting in his lungs. Today, he would repair the northern fence near the woods. Winter storms had loosened posts and snapped some ropes. The ox waited patiently, sensing the rhythm of labor. Eirik harnessed it carefully, checking the yoke's fit. Snowflakes drifted down, clinging to his hair and cloak. Every step was heavy, muscles already aching from yesterday. Frozen earth resisted movement, slowing the plow's path. He pressed forward, feeling his strength tested again. Sweat formed under layers, freezing instantly in the cold wind. Winter demanded endurance, patience, and vigilance. Beyond the fields, the dark forest loomed, silent and imposing. Wolves lurked and hidden dangers waited in shadows. Eirik's hand rested lightly on his axe, ready for action. The forest's silence was comforting yet full of unseen threats. Villagers carry their own burdens, each fight for survival. Community was not optional, it was essential for life. Every neighbor's effort reinforced the village's safety. Eirik continued his work, guiding the ox carefully through the field. Clouds thickened overhead, dimming the already weak sun. Snow began falling heavier, covering tracks and field lines. He adjusted the plow, ensuring it cut properly through frozen soil. Crunching snow echoed in the quiet landscape. Fingers numb despite gloves, he continued laboriously. Attention to detail was essential. One slip could cost life. The traveler followed, observing silently, learning from Eirik's routine. Knowledge of survival was gained through participation and observation. Eirik nodded briefly, acknowledging the silent apprentice. The ox snorted, ready for more work. Despite exhaustion, rows of furrows were carved through frozen ground, each inch earned. Hours passed, muscles burning. Yet he did not stop. Snow mixed with sweat on his face, freezing almost immediately. Endurance was the key. Life depended on it. A distant howl echoed, raising tension sharply. Wolves were always near in winter, stalking quietly. Eirik's heart raced as he scanned the forest's edge. No movement appeared, but alertness remained critical. Winter demanded respect, diligence, and constant attention. The ox's breathing formed comforting clouds in the cold air. Eirik paused, leaning on the plow briefly, allowing rest. Snow fell steadily, layering the field in white. The traveler offered a small piece of bread, a gesture of respect and shared effort. Food was precious, even a morsel meaningful. Together, they labored, maintaining the rhythm of survival. Snow quickly erased the freshly plowed furrows. Relentless and impartial, mistakes could not be afforded. Precision meant life. Eirik's muscles burned, yet determination pushed him forward. Nature's challenges were endless, testing human limits. A sudden crackle in the woods caused both to tense. Branches snapped, snow falling suddenly in. Eirik gripped his axe, ready for danger. The traveler froze, understanding the severity of the moment. A lone deer bolted through the trees, disappearing into the forest. Eirik exhaled, tension leaving his chest slowly. Life in winter, balanced between danger and perseverance. The sun lowered, pale light stretching across the landscape. Eirik guided the ox back to the village, muscles aching from effort. Footprints disappeared under falling snow, erased almost instantly. Inside, warmth and light provided brief sanctuary. His wife prepared a meal, the smell comforting and nourishing. The children gathered quietly, eyes wide with hunger and curiosity. Eirik ate slowly, savoring warmth and sustenance. Outside, the snowstorm intensified, relentless and unyielding. He reflected on the day's labor, knowing it was vital for survival. Winter spared no one. Effort, sacrifice, and vigilance were mandatory. The traveler observed silently, absorbing lessons with every action. Knowledge of the land and seasons was the key to life. The fire crackled, giving warmth and comfort against the icy world. Eirik's family huddled together, drawing strength and reassurance from each other. Survival depended on labor, resilience, and community. Even small efforts often determined life or death. Night fell early, darkness spreading across the snow-laden village. Cold pressed against doors and windows, snow piling relentlessly. Eirik stacked firewood near the hearth, preparing for the night. The traveler now fully understood the rhythm of Viking life. The wind's howl reminded all of nature's omnipotent presence. Eirik glanced toward the fields, rows buried under snow again. Tomorrow would demand labor once more, merciless and unyielding. Every day was a test of strength, endurance, and resolve, yet he remained steadfast, hardened by years of responsibility. Winter's harsh reality left no room for error. Every action carried consequences. Every decision mattered. Eirik knew the limits of his body and mind, pushing them daily. Survival demanded more than physical strength, it required wisdom. The traveler's eyes reflected understanding, respect, and awe. Each task, no matter how small, had importance in this unforgiving land. Eirik settled by the hearth, exhausted yet resolute. Tomorrow would come, and the struggle would continue, relentless as always. The morning arrived gray and cold, frost covering every surface. Eirik stepped outside, boots sinking into the icy layer of snow. His breath formed clouds in the sharp, biting air. Today, he needed to repair the southern fence near the river. Storms had weakened the posts and torn ropes loose. The ox waited patiently, understanding the day's demands. Eirik harnessed it carefully, adjusting the yoke to avoid chafing. Snowflakes drifted down, settling on cloak and hair. Each step felt heavier, muscles sore from continuous labor. The frozen ground resisted, slowing the plow's progress. Eirik said, on enduring fatigue and the cold. Sweat mixed with ice, freezing on his skin instantly. Winter tested every ounce of strength and determination. Beyond the fields, the forest loomed dark and silent. Wolves and other dangers hid among the trees. Eirik's hand rested lightly on his axe, ready for threat. Silence was deceptive, both peaceful and ominous. Villagers faced their own battles daily, unseen but relentless. Community was the only shield against winter's cruelty. Each neighbor's labor contributed to collective survival, Eirik continued, guiding the ox through the field. Clouds thickened, dimming the feeble sunlight. Snow began falling heavier, obscuring the landscape. He adjusted the plow, ensuring the furrows were straight and even. Crunching snow echoed in the still morning. Fingers numb despite gloves, he worked methodically. Attention to detail could mean life or death. The traveler followed, silently absorbing lessons of endurance. Knowledge gained through participation was survival itself. Eirik nodded to him, acknowledging the effort and observation. The ox snorted impatiently, muscles straining with effort. Furrows cut through the frozen earth. Slowly but surely, hours passed, muscles burning. Yet, he pressed forward. Snow and sweat froze on his face, sharp and cold. Perseverance was essential. The land demanded it. A distant howl echoed, a reminder of predators nearby. Wolves prowled silently, testing boundaries and patience. Eirik's heart quickened as he scanned the forest's edge. No movement appeared, but vigilance never ceased. Winter demanded respect, careful planning, and awareness. The ox's steady breathing offered a rhythm of reassurance. Eirik paused briefly, leaning on the plow for a moment's rest. Snow fell heavier, covering every inch of the fields. The traveler handed Eirik a small piece of bread, sharing sustenance. Every morsel of food mattered, especially in winter's harshness. Together, they labored, maintaining the unbroken rhythm of survival. Snow quickly erased the freshly plowed rows, relentless and impartial. Precision mattered. Even small errors could cost dearly. Eirik's muscles burned, yet determination drove him forward. Nature's tests were endless, relentless, and unforgiving. A sudden crackle of branches from the forest drew immediate attention. Snow fell in clumps, as if announcing an unseen presence. Eirik gripped his axe tightly, ready for confrontation. The traveler froze, understanding the danger in that moment. A deer bolted across the field, breaking the tension. Eirik exhaled, relief washing over him slowly. Life in winter balanced peril and perseverance. The sun dipped low, pale lights stretching across the frozen landscape. Eirik guided the ox back toward the village, aching but resolute. Footprints disappeared beneath the snow almost immediately. Inside the longhouse, warmth and fire offered sanctuary. His wife prepared a simple meal, aroma comforting and nourishing. The children gathered quietly, grateful for warmth and food. Eirik ate slowly, savoring each warm bite after exhausting labor. Outside, the snowstorm intensified, unrelenting and fierce. He reflected on the day's work, knowing its importance for survival. Winter spared no one. Vigilance and effort were mandatory. The traveler observed silently, absorbing lessons with every action. Knowledge of land, animals, and weather was the key to life. The fire crackled, warmth and light pushing back the cold. Eirik's family huddled together, drawing strength from shared presence. Survival relied on labor, endurance, and communal effort. Even small tasks could mean the difference between life and death. Night fell early, darkness stretching over snow-covered rooftops. Cold pressed against doors and windows, snow piling relentlessly. Eirik stacked firewood near the hearth, preparing for the long night. The traveler now understood the rhythm and demands of Viking life. The wind's howl reminded all of nature's omnipotent force. Eirik glanced toward the fields. Rows once plowed, now hidden beneath snow. Tomorrow would bring more labor, harsh and unforgiving as always. Each day tested strength, endurance, and resolve. Yet he remained steadfast, hardened by years of responsibility. Winter's unforgiving reality left no room for error. Every action carried consequences. Every choice mattered. Eirik knew his limits but pushed them daily for survival. Life demanded more than strength, it required intelligence and foresight. The traveler's eyes reflected respect and understanding for this harsh world. Every task, no matter how small, held significance in survival. Eirik settled by the hearth, body exhausted, mind alert. tomorrow, the struggle would continue, relentless. As always, the morning was silent, a heavy gray sky hanging over the village. Eirik stepped into the snow, boots sinking with each step. Frost-coated rooftops and fences, sparkling in pale light. Today, he intended to check the river's edge for ice damage. Winter storms had shifted banks and loosened stakes. The ox followed. Understanding the day's task, Eirik adjusted the yoke, ensuring it did not chafe the ox. Snowflakes drifted down, settling softly on his cloak. Each step felt heavier, muscles aching from prior labor. Frozen earth resisted, slowing every movement. Presed, undetermined to finish the inspection. Sweat froze instantly on his face, mixing with cold wind. Winter tested stamina, patience, and persistence. The river flowed beneath a thin layer of ice, fragile and cracking. Wolves and other predators lurked near the forest edge. Eirik's hand rested on the axe, ready for any threat. Silence around him was deceptive, both peaceful and dangerous. Villagers struggled daily, each facing their own battles. Community was essential. Survival relied on collective effort. Every neighbor's work reinforced the village's safety. Eirik walked carefully along the riverbank, inspecting stakes. Clouds thickened, dimming the pale sunlight above. Snow began falling heavier, covering footprints almost immediately. He adjusted ropes and stakes, ensuring stability. Crunching snow echoed through the empty landscape. Fingers numb despite gloves, he worked meticulously. Precision mattered. Errors could endanger life. The traveler followed silently, absorbing lessons of vigilance and labor. Knowledge of land, ice, and weather was survival itself. Eirik nodded, acknowledging the traveler's growing understanding. The ox snorted impatiently, muscles straining with effort. Every repaired stake added security for animals and villagers. Hours passed, muscles burning, yet he continued. Snow and sweat mixed on his face, freezing immediately. Perseverance was essential in this unforgiving climate. A distant howl echoed, tension rising sharply. Wolves patrolled near the forest, testing boundaries and courage. Eirik's heart quickened as he scanned the tree line. No movement appeared, but vigilance never ceased. Winter demanded attention, careful planning, and respect. The ox's steady breathing offered a comforting rhythm. Eirik paused briefly, leaning on his axe for a moment of rest. Snow fell steadily, layering the riverbank in white. The traveler handed Eirik a small piece of bread, sharing sustenance. Food was precious, and even a morsel mattered greatly. Together, they worked, maintaining the rhythm of survival. Snow erased all traces of progress quickly, relentless and impartial. Accuracy mattered. Even minor mistakes could have serious consequences. Eirik's muscles burned, yet determination drove him onward. Nature's challenges were endless, harsh, and unyielding. A sudden crackle of ice from the river drew immediate attention. Snow fell from nearby trees, announcing movement. Eirik gripped his axe tightly, alert to danger. The traveler froze, understanding the gravity of the moment. A deer bolted from the riverbank, breaking the tension. Eirik exhaled slowly, relief easing his chest. Life in winter balanced peril and perseverance. The sun dipped lower, casting pale light across frozen water. Eirik guided the ox back to the village, muscles aching but determined. Footprints disappeared beneath falling snow instantly. Inside the longhouse, warmth and light provided relief. His wife prepared a simple meal, the aroma comforting. The children gathered quietly, grateful for warmth and food. Eirik ate slowly, savoring every bite after exhausting labor. Outside, the snowstorm continued, relentless and fierce. He reflected on the day's work, knowing it was vital for survival. Winter spared no one. Constant effort and vigilance were necessary. The traveler observed silently, learning through every action. Understanding the land and weather was critical to life. The fire crackled, warmth and light pushing back the icy chill. Eirik's family huddled together, drawing strength and reassurance. Survival depended on labor, endurance, and cooperation. Even small efforts often meant life or death. Night fell early, darkness stretching over snow-covered homes. Cold pressed against doors and windows, snow piling relentlessly. Eirik stacked firewood near the hearth, preparing for the long night. The traveler now fully understood the rhythm of Viking life. The wind's howl reminded all of nature's unrelenting force. Eirik glanced at the fields and river, frozen under fresh snow. Tomorrow would demand labor again. Harsh and unforgiving, each day tested strength, endurance, and resolve. Yet he remained steadfast, hardened by years of responsibility. Winter's harsh reality allowed no room for error. Every decision carried consequences. Every action mattered. Eirik knew his limits, but pushed them daily. Survival required more than strength. It demanded knowledge and foresight. The traveler's eyes reflected respect and comprehension. Each task, no matter how small, had importance in this harsh world. Eirik settled by the hearth, body exhausted, mind alert. Tomorrow, the struggle would continue, relentless as always. Morning arrived with a pale light barely cutting through gray clouds. Eirik stepped into the snow, boots sinking with each step. Frost-coated fences and rooftops, sparkling faintly. Today, he planned to repair the storage sheds damaged by storms. Wind had ripped panels loose, leaving gaps that could let in snow. The ox followed, understanding the routine of the day. Eirik adjusted the yoke carefully, ensuring comfort for the animal. Snowflakes drifted lazily, settling on his cloak and hair. Every step was heavy, muscles aching from previous labor. Frozen ground resisted his progress, slowing every movement. He pressed on, determined to finish repairs. Sweat formed and froze quickly on his face, mixing with cold wind. Winter demanded perseverance, patience, and vigilance. The forest beyond loomed silently, hiding dangers in shadow. Wolves prowled quietly, always testing boundaries. Eirik's hand rested on his axe, ready for any sudden threat. The quiet was deceptive, both peaceful and ominous. Villages faced daily challenges of survival, unseen but relentless. Community was the only shield against winter's cruelty. Every neighbor's effort reinforced the village's safety. Eirik approached the storage sheds, assessing the damage. Clouds thickened overhead, dimming the weak winter sunlight. Snow began falling heavier, obscuring the landscape. He adjusted planks and ropes, securing the structures. Crunching snow echoed in the still morning. Fingers numb despite gloves, he worked meticulously. Precision mattered. Small mistakes could be costly. The traveler followed silently, observing lessons in labor and survival. Knowledge gained through action was critical in this harsh environment. Eirik acknowledged him with a nod, recognizing his effort. The ox snorted impatiently, muscles straining with effort. Each repaired plank added security for stored food and supplies. Oars passed, muscles burning, yet he continued without pause. Snow mixed with sweat, freezing instantly on his face. Perseverance was necessary in this unforgiving climate. A distant howl reminded him of predators lurking nearby. Wolves tested boundaries and patience silently. Eirik's heart quickened as he scanned the forest's edge. No movement appeared, but vigilance was constant. Winter demanded respect, careful planning, and attentiveness. The ox's steady breathing provided a comforting rhythm. Eirik paused briefly, leaning on the planks, allowing a moment's rest. Snow fell steadily, covering every surface in white. The traveler handed Eirik a small piece of bread, a gesture of respect and sustenance. Every morsel of food mattered during harsh winters. Together, they labored, maintaining the rhythm of survival. Snow erased all traces of progress quickly, relentless and impartial. Accuracy mattered. Even minor errors could endanger lives. Eirik's muscles burned, yet determination drove him onward. Nature's challenges were relentless and unyielding. A sudden crackle from the forest edge drew immediate attention. Snow fell from nearby branches, announcing movement. Eirik gripped his axe tightly, ready for confrontation. The traveler froze, understanding the gravity of the moment. A deer bolted across the snow, easing the tension. Eirik exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. Life in winter balanced danger and perseverance. The sun lowered, pale light casting shadows over snow-laden buildings. Eirik guided the ox back to the village, muscles aching but resolute. Footprints disappeared beneath falling snow almost instantly. Inside, warmth and fire offered relief and comfort. His wife prepared a meal, the aroma both comforting and nourishing. The children gathered quietly, eyes wide with hunger and curiosity. Eirik ate slowly, savoring each warm bite after long labor. Outside, the snowstorm continued, relentless and fierce. He reflected on the day's work, knowing it was essential for survival. Winter spared no one. Vigilance and labor were mandatory. The traveler observed silently, learning through every action. Knowledge of land, animals, and weather was essential for life. The fire crackled, providing warmth and reassurance. Eirik's family huddled together, drawing strength from one another. Survival depended on endurance, labor, and cooperation. Even small tasks could determine life or death. Night fell early, darkness stretching across snow-covered homes. Cold pressed against doors and windows, snow piling relentlessly. Eirik stacked firewood near the hearth, preparing for the night. The traveler now fully understood the rhythm of Viking life. The wind's howl reminded all of nature's unyielding power. Eirik glanced toward the village, buildings partially buried under snow. Tomorrow would demand labor again, harsh and unforgiving. Each day tested strength, endurance, and resolve. Yet he remained steadfast, hardened by responsibility and experience. Winter's reality allowed no room for error. Every action had consequences. Every choice mattered. Eirik knew his limits but pushed them daily. Survival required more than strength. Wisdom and foresight were vital. The traveler's eyes reflected respect and comprehension. Each task, no matter how small, had significance in survival. Eirik settled by the hearth, body exhausted, mind alert. Tomorrow, the struggle would continue, relentless. As always, the morning was dim, clouds heavy with the promise of snow. Eirik stepped outside, boots sinking into frost-covered ground. His breath rose in small clouds, sharp in the cold air. Today, he planned to gather firewood from the nearby forest. Winter storms had felled several trees, perfect for the task. The ox followed, patient and obedient. Eirik checked the yoke, ensuring the harness fit comfortably. Snowflakes settled softly on his cloak, covering shoulders and hair. Each step felt heavier, muscles sore from continuous labor. Frozen ground resisted, slowing progress. Eirik said, undetermined to complete the work. Sweat mixed with cold air, freezing on his face instantly. Winter tested endurance, patience, and resilience. The forest loomed dark and silent, full of hidden dangers. Wolves prowled in shadows, careful and silent. Eirik's hand rested lightly on the axe, ready for sudden threats. The quiet was deceptive, both peaceful and foreboding. Villages faced constant struggles, each fighting daily for survival. Community was essential. No one could survive alone. Every neighbor's efforts strengthened the village's resilience. Eirik entered the forest, scanning for suitable firewood. Clouds thickened above, dimming the weak winter sunlight. Snow began falling heavier, obscuring vision and footprints. He carefully selected logs, ensuring strength and usability. Crunching snow echoed with every step. Fingers numb despite gloves, he worked meticulously. Precision mattered. Poor choices could be dangerous. The traveler followed silently, learning lessons of labor and survival. Knowledge of trees, wood, and seasons was vital. Eirik nodded to him, recognizing his growing understanding. The ox snorted, muscles straining under the harness. Each load added security and warmth for the long winter. Hours passed, muscles burning. Yet work continued, snow mixed with sweat, freezing quickly on exposed skin. Perseverance was essential in this unforgiving environment. A distant howl reminded him of predators nearby. Wolves tested boundaries, watching silently. Eirik's heart quickened as he scanned the forest edge. No movement appeared, but vigilance was constant. Winter demanded careful planning, respect, and attention. The ox's steady breathing provided a comforting rhythm. Eirik paused briefly, leaning on the axe for rest. Snow fell steadily, blanketing the forest floor. The traveler offered a small piece of bread, sharing sustenance. Food was precious. Even a small ration mattered greatly. Together, they labored, maintaining the rhythm of survival. Snow quickly erased all footprints. Impartial and relentless, accuracy in cutting and gathering was vital for survival. Eirik's muscles burned, yet determination drove him onward. Nature's challenges were endless, relentless, and unforgiving. A sudden snap of a branch made him tense instantly. Snow fell from trees, revealing the movement of a deer. Eirik gripped his axe tightly, ready for anything. The traveler froze, understanding the gravity of the moment. The deer bolted, breaking tension and leaving the forest silent. Eirik exhaled slowly, relief easing his chest. Life in winter balanced peril with perseverance. The sun lowered, casting pale shadows over snow-covered trees. Eirik loaded the last logs onto the ox's back, muscles aching. Footprints disappeared beneath falling snow almost immediately. Inside the long house, warmth and fire offered comfort and relief. His wife prepared a simple meal, aroma comforting and nourishing. The children gathered quietly, grateful for warmth and sustenance. Eirik ate slowly, savoring every bite after laborious work. Outside, snow continued to fall, relentless and fierce. He reflected on the day's work, understanding its vital importance. Winter spared no one. Effort and vigilance were mandatory. The traveler observed silently, absorbing lessons with each movement. Knowledge of the land, trees, and weather was critical. The fire crackled, providing warmth and comfort against the cold. Eirik's family huddled together, drawing strength and reassurance. Survival depended on endurance, labor, and community. Even small tasks often determined life or death. Night fell early, darkness covering snow-laden village homes. Cold pressed against doors and windows, snow piling relentlessly. Eirik stacked firewood near the hearth, ensuring warmth for the night. The traveler now understood the rhythm of a Viking farmer's life. The wind's howl reminded all of nature's unyielding power. Eirik glanced at the forest and fields, snow covering every trace of labor. Tomorrow would demand work again, harsh and unforgiving. Each day tested strength, endurance, and resolve. Yet he remained steadfast, hardened by experience and responsibility. Winter's reality allowed no room for error. Every decision had consequences. Every action mattered. Eirik knew his limits, but pushed them daily. Survival demanded more than strength. Wisdom and foresight were essential. The traveler's eyes reflected respect and comprehension. Every task, no matter how small, held significance in survival. Eirik settled by the hearth, exhausted yet alert. Tomorrow, the struggle would continue. Relentless as always, the morning arrived quiet. Gray clouds, heavy with snow. Eirik stepped into the crisp air, boots sinking into the frozen ground, frost-coated fences and rooftops, sparkling faintly in dim light. Today, he planned to repair the windmill, damaged in last week's storm. Broken gears and splintered boards threatened the grain supply. The ox followed closely, steady and patient. Eirik checked the harness, ensuring comfort for the animal. Snowflakes drifted down, settling softly on cloak and hair. Each step was heavy. Muscles ached from continuous labor. The frozen ground resisted his every movement. Determined to restore the vital structure. Sweat formed and froze instantly on his face. Winter tested endurance, patience, and persistence. Beyond the field, the forest stood dark and silent. Wolves prowled quietly, observing, waiting. Eirik's hand rested on the axe, ready for threats. Silence was deceptive, peaceful, yet full of danger. Villagers faced daily struggles, each fighting for survival. Community was essential. No one could manage alone. Naber, as labor, reinforced the village's resilience. Eirik approached the windmill, inspecting broken boards. Clouds thickened overhead, dimming the feeble winter sunlight. Snow began falling heavier, obscuring vision and landmarks. He replaced broken beams, securing the structure with care. Crunching snow echoed through the quiet morning, fingers numb. He worked meticulously, aware of each detail. Precision mattered. Even minor mistakes could have serious consequences. The traveler followed silently, absorbing lessons in labor and vigilance. Knowledge of tools, wood, and mechanics was critical. Eirik acknowledged him with a nod, recognizing his focus. The ox snorted, muscles straining under the load. Each repaired plank or gear brought security for the village. Oars, facet muscles burning. Yet he continued steadily, snow mixed with sweat, freezing instantly on exposed skin. Perseverance was necessary to endure the harsh winter. A distant howl reminded him predators were near. Wolves prowled the forest silently, watching for opportunity. Eirik's heart quickened as he scanned the trees. No movement appeared, but vigilance remained constant. Winter demanded attention, respect, and careful planning. The ox's steady breathing offered a comforting rhythm. Eirik paused briefly, leaning on a beam for rest. Snow fell steadily, covering the field in white. The traveler handed Eirik a small piece of bread, sharing sustenance. Every morsel mattered, especially during the long winter. Together, they worked, maintaining the rhythm of survival. Snow quickly erased progress, relentless and impartial. Accuracy was essential. Mistakes could cost lives. Eirik's muscles burned, yet determination kept him moving. Nature's challenges were relentless, unyielding, and harsh. A sudden crackle from the windmill frame drew attention. Snow fell from trees, signaling subtle movement nearby. Eirik gripped his axe tightly, ready for anything. The traveler froze, understanding the danger. A bird burst from the roof, breaking tension and reminding them of life. Eirik exhaled slowly, relief flooding his chest. Life in winter balanced danger with perseverance. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across snow-covered fields. Eirik guided the ox back toward the village, muscles aching but steady. Footprints disappeared beneath snow almost immediately. Inside, warmth and fire provided comfort and relief. His wife prepared a simple meal, aroma soothing and nourishing. The children gathered quietly, grateful for warmth and food. Eirik ate slowly, savoring every bite after exhaustive work. Outside, the snowstorm continued, relentless and harsh. He reflected on the day's labor, understanding its importance. Winter spared no one. Constant effort and vigilance were essential. The traveler observed silently, learning through each action. Knowledge of structures, tools, and nature was survival itself. The fire crackled, pushing back the cold and offering reassurance. Eirik's family huddled together, drawing strength from presence and warmth. Survival depended on endurance, labor, and cooperation. Even small tasks often determined life or death. Night fell early, darkness stretching across snow-covered homes. Cold pressed against doors and windows, snow piling relentlessly. Eirik stacked firewood near the hearth, preparing for the long night. The traveler now understood the rhythm and demands of Viking life. The wind's howl reminded all of nature's unyielding force. Eirik glanced at the windmill and fields, snow hiding traces of labor. Tomorrow would demand work again, harsh and unforgiving. Each day tested strength, endurance, and resolve, yet he remained steadfast, hardened by years of responsibility. Winter's harsh reality left no room for error. Every choice had consequences. Every action mattered. Eirik knew his limits but pushed them daily. Survival required more than strength. Foresight and wisdom were essential. The traveler's eyes reflected respect and comprehension. Every task, no matter how small, had significance in survival. Eirik settled by the hearth, body exhausted, mind alert. Tomorrow, the struggle would continue. Relentless, as always, the morning arrived pale, gray clouds heavy with snow. Eirik stepped outside, boots sinking into the frozen ground. Frost sparkled faintly on rooftops and fences. Today, he planned to check the livestock pens for winter damage. Storms had weakened some fences, leaving gaps that could let in predators. The ox followed patiently, accustomed to the routine. Eirik adjusted the harness, ensuring comfort for the animal. Snowflakes drifted down, settling softly on his cloak and hair. Every step felt heavy, muscles ached from continuous work. Frozen ground slowed each movement, resisting progress. He proceeded, undetermined, to secure the pens. Sweat formed and froze instantly on his face. Winter tested endurance, patience, and diligence. Beyond the fields, the forest loomed, dark and silent. Wolves prowled silently, watching and waiting. Eirik's hand rested on his axe, ready for danger. Silence was deceptive, peaceful, yet full of threat. Villagers faced daily struggles, each fighting for survival. Community was essential. No one could survive alone. Every neighbor's effort reinforced the village's strength. Eirik approached the pens, inspecting each fence and gate. Clouds thickened above, dimming the feeble winter sunlight. Snow began falling heavier, obscuring vision and landmarks. He reinforced posts and tightened ropes, securing the livestock. Crunching snow echoed under boots with every step. Fingers numb despite gloves, he worked carefully. Precision mattered. Mistakes could be costly. The traveler followed silently, learning lessons in vigilance and labor. Knowledge of animals, fences, and weather was vital. Eirik nodded briefly, acknowledging the traveler's growing understanding. The ox snorted, muscles straining under the harness. Each repaired fence brought security and peace of mind. Hours passed, muscles burning, yet work continued steadily. Snow mixed with sweat, freezing instantly on exposed skin. Perseverance was essential in this harsh environment. A distant howl reminded him predators were near. Wolves watched silently, testing boundaries. Eirik's heart quickened as he scanned the forest edge. No movement appeared, but vigilance was constant. Winter demanded careful planning, respect, and alertness. The ox's steady breathing provided a comforting rhythm. Eirik paused briefly, leaning on the fence for rest. Snow fell steadily, covering the fields in white. The traveler handed Eirik a small piece of bread, sharing sustenance. Food was precious, and even a small ration mattered. Together, they worked, maintaining the rhythm of survival. Snow quickly erased progress, relentless and impartial. Accuracy in repair was essential. Small mistakes could endanger life. Eirik's muscles burned, yet determination drove him onward. Nature's challenges were relentless, harsh, and unforgiving. A sudden snap of a branch made him tense. Snow fell from nearby trees, revealing a small fox moving silently. Eirik gripped his axe tightly, alert to any threat. The traveler froze, understanding the severity of the moment. The fox darted away, leaving the forest quiet once more. Eirik exhaled slowly, relief easing his chest. Life in winter balanced danger with perseverance. The sun lowered, casting pale light across snow-covered fields. Eirik guided the ox back toward the village, muscles aching but steady. Footprints disappeared beneath snow almost immediately. Inside, warmth and fire provided relief and comfort. His wife prepared a simple meal, aroma soothing and nourishing. The children gathered quietly, grateful for warmth and food. Eirik ate slowly, savoring every bite after laborious work. Outside, the snowstorm continued, relentless and harsh. He reflected on the day's work, knowing it was vital for survival. Winter spared no one. Vigilance and labor were mandatory. The traveler observed silently, learning through each action. Knowledge of livestock, fences, and weather was essential. The fire crackled, warmth pushing back the icy chill. Eirik's family huddled together, drawing strength and reassurance. Survival depended on endurance, labor, and cooperation. Even small tasks could determine life or death. Night fell early, darkness covering snow-laden homes. Cold pressed against doors and windows, snow piling relentlessly. Eirik stacked firewood near the hearth, preparing for the night. The traveler now fully understood the rhythm of Viking life. The wind's howl reminded all of nature's unyielding power. Eirik glanced at the pens and fields, snow hiding traces of labor. Tomorrow would demand work again, harsh and unforgiving. Each day tested strength, endurance, and resolve. Yet he remained steadfast, hardened by years of responsibility. Winter's harsh reality left no room for error. Every decision carried consequences. Every action mattered. Eirik knew his limits, but pushed them daily. Survival required more than strength. Wisdom and foresight were vital. The traveler's eyes reflected respect and comprehension. Every task, no matter how small, held significance in survival. Eirik settled by the hearth, exhausted yet alert. Tomorrow, the struggle would continue. Relentless as always. The morning dawned pale, gray clouds heavy with snow. Eirik stepped outside, boots crunching on frozen ground, frost-coated rooftops and fences, glinting faintly. Today, he planned to check the grain storage for damage. Storms had loosened the roof and weakened some walls. The ox followed quietly, steady and obedient. Eirik adjusted the harness, ensuring comfort for the animal. Snowflakes drifted down, settling on cloak and hair. Each step was heavy, muscles sore from relentless labor. Frozen earth slowed progress, resisting movement. Bracet, undetermined to protect the village's grain. Sweat formed and froze on his face, mixing with cold wind. Winter demanded endurance, patience, and persistence. Beyond the fields, the forest stood silent and foreboding. Wolves prowled carefully, observing for opportunity. Eirik's hand rested on his axe, ready for threats. The quiet was deceptive, both peaceful and dangerous. Villagers faced daily struggles, each fighting for survival. Community was essential. No one could survive alone. Every neighbor's effort strengthened the village's resilience. Eirik approached the storage, inspecting the roof and walls. Clouds thickened, dimming the weak winter sunlight. Snow began falling heavier, obscuring vision and footprints. He repaired the roof beams, ensuring stability and protection. Crunching snow echoed with every step, fingers numb despite gloves. He worked with care. Precision mattered. Mistakes could be disastrous. The traveler followed silently, learning lessons in vigilance and labor. Knowledge of storage, grain, and weather was vital. Eirik nodded, acknowledging the traveler's growing understanding. The ox snorted, muscles straining under the harness. Each repaired beam ensured security and survival. Hours passed, muscles burning, yet work continued. Snow mixed with sweat, freezing instantly on exposed skin. Perseverance was essential in this unforgiving environment. A distant howl reminded him. Predators roamed nearby. Wolves prowled silently, testing boundaries. Eirik's heart quickened as he scanned the forest edge. No movement appeared, but vigilance remained constant. Winter demanded careful attention, planning, and respect. The ox's steady breathing provided a comforting rhythm. Eirik paused briefly, leaning on a beam for rest. Snow fell steadily, blanketing the fields in white. The traveler handed Eirik a small piece of bread, sharing sustenance. Every morsel mattered, especially during winter. Together, they labored, maintaining the rhythm of survival. Snow quickly erased all traces of progress. Relentless and impartial, accuracy in repairs was vital. Small mistakes could endanger life. Eirik's muscles burned, yet determination drove him onward. Nature's challenges were relentless and unforgiving. A sudden crackle from the storage roof drew immediate attention. Snow slid from nearby branches, signaling movement. Eirik gripped his axe tightly. Alert to danger, the traveler froze, understanding the severity of the moment. A small bird darted from the roof, easing tension. Eirik exhaled slowly, relief flooding his chest. Life in winter balanced danger and perseverance. The sun dipped low, casting pale shadows over snow-covered buildings. Eirik guided the ox back to the village, muscles aching but steady. Footprints disappeared beneath falling snow almost immediately. Inside, warmth and fire offered comfort and relief. His wife prepared a simple meal, aroma soothing and nourishing. The children gathered quietly, grateful for warmth and food. Eirik ate slowly, savoring every bite after exhausting work. Outside, the snowstorm continued, relentless and harsh. He reflected on the day's labor, knowing it was essential for survival. Winter spared no one. Vigilance and effort were mandatory. The traveler observed silently, learning from every action. Knowledge of storage, grain, and weather was critical. The fire crackled, warmth pushing back the icy chill. Eirik's family huddled together, drawing strength and reassurance. Survival depended on labor, endurance, and cooperation. Even small tasks could determine life or death. Night fell early, darkness stretching across snow-covered homes. Cold pressed against doors and windows, snow piling relentlessly. Eirik stacked firewood near the hearth, preparing for the night. The traveler now fully understood the rhythm of Viking life. The wind's howl reminded all of nature's unyielding force. Eirik glanced at the storage and fields, snow hiding traces of labor. Tomorrow would demand work again, harsh and unforgiving. Each day tested strength, endurance, and resolve. Yet he remained steadfast, hardened by years of responsibility. Winter's harsh reality left no room for error. Every choice carried consequences. Every action mattered. Eirik knew his limits, but pushed them daily. Survival required more than strength. Wisdom and foresight were essential. The traveler's eyes reflected respect and comprehension. Every task, no matter how small, held significance in survival. Eirik settled by the hearth, exhausted yet alert. Tomorrow, the struggle would continue, relentless. As always, the final morning dawned pale, gray clouds stretching across the sky. Eirik stepped outside, boots crunching on frozen ground. Frost glistened on rooftops and fences, delicate and sharp. Today, he planned to inspect the fields one last time before winter fully settled. Snow had accumulated, hiding crops and pathways. The ox followed patiently, accustomed to the morning routine. Eirik adjusted the harness, ensuring the animal's comfort. Snowflakes drifted slowly, settling on cloak and hair. Every step was heavy. Muscles ached from the relentless labor of past weeks. Frozen earth resisted movement, each step requiring effort. He pressed forward, determined to finish the day's inspection. Sweat formed and froze on his face, mixing with the biting wind. Winter tested endurance, patience, and perseverance like never before. Beyond the fields, the forest stood dark and watchful. Wolves prowled silently, always assessing, always waiting. Eirik's hand rested on his axe, alert to potential threats. The quiet was deceptive, peaceful, yet tinged with danger. Villagers faced daily struggles, each fighting for survival. Community was essential. No one could endure winter alone. Every neighbor's efforts strengthened the village's resilience. Eirik examined the fields carefully, noting snow-covered crops. Clouds thickened, dimming the weak winter sunlight. Snow fell heavier, obscuring vision and landmarks. He marked areas needing future attention. Planning ahead, crunching snow echoed underfoot. Fingers numb despite gloves, he worked with careful precision. Every choice mattered. Mistakes could be costly. The traveler followed silently, absorbing lessons of vigilance and labor. Knowledge of fields, weather, and survival was essential. Eirik nodded briefly, acknowledging the traveler's understanding. The ox snorted, muscles straining under the harness. Each careful step protected the village's future. Hours passed, muscles burning, yet work continued steadily. Snow mixed with sweat, freezing instantly on exposed skin. Perseverance was crucial in this harsh environment. A distant howl reminded him predators roamed nearby. Wolves tested boundaries silently, watching for weakness. Eirik's heart quickened, scanning the forest for movement. No threat appeared, yet vigilance remained constant. Winter demanded attention, planning, and respect. The ox's steady breathing provided rhythm and reassurance. Eirik paused briefly, leaning on his axe for rest. Snow fell steadily, covering fields and pads in white. The traveler offered a small piece of bread, sharing sustenance. Even small rations were vital during harsh winters. Together, they labored, maintaining the rhythm of survival. Snow quickly erased all traces of progress, impartial and relentless. Accuracy was critical. Small mistakes could endanger life. Eirik's muscles burned, yet determination kept him moving. Nature's challenges were endless, harsh, and unforgiving. A sudden snap of ice made him tense. Snow fell from nearby branches, revealing a small rabbit scurrying. Eirik gripped his axe, alert to danger. The traveler froze, recognizing the severity of the moment. The rabbit dashed away, leaving the forest calm again. Eirik exhaled slowly, relief flooding his chest. Life in winter balanced danger with perseverance. The sun dipped low, casting pale light over the snow-covered village. Eirik guided the ox back to the longhouse, muscles aching but steady. Footprints disappeared beneath the falling snow. Inside, warmth and fire offered comfort after the long day. His wife prepared a simple meal, aroma soothing and nourishing. The children gathered quietly, grateful for warmth and food. Eirik ate slowly, savoring each bite after relentless work. Outside, the snowstorm continued, fierce and unyielding. He reflected on the weeks past, understanding the importance of each task. Winter spared no one. Labor and vigilance were mandatory. The traveler observed silently, learning through every moment. Knowledge of fields, animals, and weather was essential for survival. The fire crackled, warmth pushing back the icy chill. Eirik's family huddled together, drawing strength and reassurance. Survival depended on endurance, labor, and cooperation. Even the smallest tasks could determine life or death. Night fell early, darkness stretching across the snow-laden village. Cold pressed against doors and windows, snow piling relentlessly. Eirik stacked firewood near the hearth, ensuring warmth for the long night. The traveler now fully understood the rhythm of Viking life. The wind's howl reminded all of nature's unyielding force. Eirik glanced at the fields and village, snow hiding all traces of labor. Tomorrow would demand work again, relentless and unforgiving. Each day tested strength, endurance, and resolve. Yet he remained steadfast, hardened by years of responsibility. Winter's harsh reality left no room for error. Every choice had consequences. Every action mattered. Eirik knew his limits, but pushed them daily. Survival required more than strength. Wisdom and foresight were vital. The traveler's eyes reflected respect and comprehension. Every task, no matter how small, held significance in survival. Eirik settled by the hearth, body exhausted, mind alert. Tomorrow, the struggle would continue, relentless as always, but hope remained.